Right. Now, remember I said noun phrases is usually a noun, just a noun or a pronoun. But noun phrases can also have pre-modifiers and post-modifiers. So for example, the example that I gave earlier was all the children. All the children. So it's not just a noun. The children is the noun, but all the is called a pre-modifier. So all the children is a noun phrase. Let me show you some examples. So pre-modifiers are words that go before the noun. For example, there are 4 types. Determinants. So if you look at those houses, this is the noun phrase, those houses. But those here, this is called a pre-modifier because it goes before the noun and it's called a determiner. So there are 4 types of pre-modifiers. Quantifiers. I've lived in a lot of houses. So a lot of houses is a phrase, noun phrase. Houses is the noun. A lot of is the pre-modifier. Remember, pre-modifiers go before the noun, and it's this the type of pre-modifier that's called a quantifier. Quantifier because it shows the quantity, whether it's a lot, whether it's a little. Okay, it's okay if you are A1 or A2 and this seems a bit difficult for you. You can just listen. A pre-modifier can also be a number. So my brother owns 2 houses. So 2 houses is the noun phrase. The 2 here is the pre-modifier and it's a number. The houses is the noun, which is a countable noun. And it can also be adjectives like I love old houses. Old is an adjective. Houses is the noun. So these are all called pre-modifiers. Right, so post-modifiers go after the noun. So you just remember pre is before, post is after. They can be prepositional phrases. I'll just go through this quickly because this is not what we're going to focus on. A woman with a purse. So this is a noun phrase. And this is prepositional phrase, a post-modifier. They can be ing phrases. The man standing over there. Relative clauses, the girl we met yesterday, that clauses. So these are very common after nouns like ideas, fact, belief, suggestion. He's still very fit in spite of the fact that he's over 80. But today, two infinitives, I've got no decent shoes to wear. I'll just run through that. But today we're going to be focusing on pre-modifiers because countable nouns in a sentence, they have different pre-modifiers than uncountable nouns. Okay, so I hope that's clear. We're just going to be focusing on pre-modifiers. So now that you know countable and uncountable nouns, we're going to look at the correct pre-modifier to go before the noun to make it a noun phrase. Because I know in the Malay language, we don't really have pre-modifiers or post-modifiers. So that's why this can be confusing for you. So a noun phrase can have more than one pre-modifier. We use pre-modifiers in this order. So this is a noun phrase, we use it in this order. For example, the 6 children. So the determiner goes first, followed by number, followed by adjective, followed by noun. This is the order that you use it. So imagine you want to say there's 6 young children, right? Do you say young 6 children? You should say 6 young children. Determiner first, number next, followed by adjective, and then followed by noun. So let's look at examples quickly. The 6 children. Our young children. 6 young children. These 6 young children. Some young children. All those 6 young children. There are many young children. So you can memorize, if you are feeling confused about how to organize your sentences when it has adjectives and numbers, you can refer to this table, okay? All right, determinants. So What I said was determinants is a type of pre-modifier. Okay, remember? Let me show you again this determiner. So we're going to go into detail about determiners and quantifiers, right? Determiners are words which come at the beginning of noun phrases. They tell us whether a noun is specific or general. Specific determiners. So we use specific determiner when we believe the listener or the reader knows what we are referring to. For example, the. Okay? So we use the in front of the noun. So that's called the definite article. Or possessives. My, your, his, her, its, our, their, whose. So these are possessives. Possessive ni, when you say like possess means like ownership. That's what it means, possessive. So that's how you can remember it. Demonstrative, this. So demonstrative, to remember that, you say this, that, these, when you pointed to something, right? This, that, these, those. So demonstrative. Demonstrative is like tunjuk. So that's how I remember it. For example, can you pass me the salt, please? So that's determiner, because if I'm sitting with you at a table, I tell you, can you pass me the salt? Because we both know which salt that we're referring to. There's probably a bottle of salt on the table, right? You can't, if I'm with you and there's a bottle of salt on the table, I wouldn't say, can you pass me a salt? You would say, pass me the salt, because we both know what we're referring to. So that's what you mean by specific, meaning that the listener that you're speaking to knows that what you're talking about. Thank you very much for your letter. So your is a possessive also. So I'm talking about the specific letter. So if I say thank you very much for a letter, what letter, right? So you would say thank you very much for your letter. Whose coat is this? So whose is also a possessive, because you're asking who ownership, the ownership of this coat. Whose is it? And look at those lovely flowers. So when I say look at those lovely flowers, I'm expecting that the listener to know which flowers that I'm talking about. So I usually show, look at those flowers. Okay, I hope that's clear. Right, so specific determiners can be used for both countable and uncountable nouns, right? Take note of that. You can use these determiners, specific determiners, for both countable and uncountable nouns. All right, let's look at a different type of determiner. So determiner, the one that we talked about just now was specific determiner, and now we're going to talk about general determiner. We use a general determiner when we are talking about things in general, and the listener or the reader of what you're writing doesn't know what you are referring to. Okay? General determiners are, there's 4 types. A/an. 0 means there's no determiner, we don't use it at all. Any, another, and other. Okay, I'm going to go into detail for each one. So the most frequent general determiner is the a/an, used with singular nouns. So remember, an is only for singular nouns. Singular nouns, which I mean is countable nouns. So you don't use it with plural nouns. An is the same as saying one. A man came this morning and left a parcel. So a man, when you say a man, you know that it's one man, right? A parcel, you know that he left just one parcel. Okay. He was wearing a big coat and a cap. So you know that he's just wearing one big coat and one cap. We do not use uncountable nouns with a or an. For example, that's useful information. So you can't say, that's a useful information. No, you just use that's useful information. We had seafood for dinner last night. We don't say, we had a seafood for dinner last night. I like listening to music in my car. You don't say, I like listening to a music in my car. You can say, I like listening to a song. I like listening to songs, but music is an uncountable noun. So remember, a or an is only for singular nouns. It's not for plural nouns, and it's also not for uncountable nouns. When we are talking about things in general, so now I'm going to talk about having no determinants. When we're talking about things that are general, we use no determinants, meaning there's nothing in front of the noun when it's a plural noun, which is countable or uncountable noun. Example, girls normally do better in school than boys. Okay, I got this example from the internet. It's not my opinion, but this is just an example. Girls normally do better in school than boys. So we're talking about general. So when it's general, you don't need to put a determiner in front. You don't need to say the girls normally do better in school than the boys, unless you're talking about this specific school. But this example is talking about everything in general, right? Milk is very good for you. So milk is an uncountable noun. So you don't use any determiner before milk. You don't need to say the milk is very good for you. If I say the milk is very good for you, I'm talking about a specific milk, but I'm talking about something in general. Milk is very good for you. So when it's general, no determiner. Health and education are very important. So health there is an uncountable noun. And education is also an uncountable noun, and we're talking about it in general. I hope that's clear. Computers are very expensive. So this sentence, I'm talking about computers in general are very expensive. Okay, you could say the computers are very expensive if I'm talking about my specific computer, for example, but I want to say that computers in general are very expensive. I hope that's clear. And a last one, do you sell old books? Right, generally. Right, let's move on. Now we're going to talk about any, another, and other. We use the general determiner, any. So remember, these are all called general determiners. We use any with a singular noun or an uncountable noun when we talk about all of those people or things. So it's only for singular nouns or an uncountable noun, any. So for example, it's very easy. Any child can do it. It's the same as saying all children can do it. Understand? So any means all. With a full license, you're allowed to drive any car. So you can say, what you mean is you can drive all cars. So any means all in this sentence. And remember, it's only for singular countable nouns or uncountable nouns. You can't use it for plural countable nouns. I like bananas, oranges, apples, any fruit. So what you mean is you like all kinds of fruit. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. Any is used with a singular noun or uncountable noun when you talk about all of those things. Okay, let's talk about another. Another is when you are talking about an additional person or thing, which is singular noun only. So singular noun is same as singular countable noun. Remember, we have three types of noun. We have two types, countable and uncountable. Countable has singular and plural. Uncountable doesn't have plural and is usually not singular. So when I say singular noun, I mean countable noun. Singular countable noun. I need another spoon. See, you can't say I need another spoons. No, I need another spoon because you're talking about one thing. The plural form of another is other and can be used with plural or uncountable nouns. So other here, if you want to talk about other, you can use, that's for plural or uncountable. Okay, I spoke to Jay, Howard, and a few other friends. Friends. See, friends here, it's plural noun. I bought a chair, lamp, and other furniture. Furniture is uncountable noun, so you can use other. Other can also be used with a singular noun, right? But it must come after the or a possessive word. So for example, the other side of the street. So you can use other with singular noun, but it must come after the word the other side of the street. It must have a the here, or a my, his, her, okay? Oh, here, I forgot to show you this one last example. For example, my other sister works in Singapore. My other, so possessive word, my other sister works in Singapore. I hope that's clear. So you know that another is for singular, other is for plural or uncountable nouns. But if you want to use other with a singular, you need to put a possessive at the front, like this one. Sorry, my, or the word the in front of it. Right, just a few notes to remember. Singular countable nouns, it cannot be used alone. They have to have a determiner in a sentence. So you can't say English teacher. You have to put a determiner in front of it. It has to be the, an, right? The English teacher. That book, a wish, my latest idea, any pen, another toy, this person, one bottle. It has to have a determiner in a sentence. Okay, so if somebody asks you, what do you do? You can't say English teacher. You have to say, I'm an English teacher. So an English teacher becomes a noun phrase. Here's something that you should remember when using a or an. So a is for nouns that begin with consonant sounds. So like a cat, a dog, a book. An is for nouns that begin with vowel sounds. A, E, I, O, U sounds. Right, we haven't finished yet. We have quantifiers now. So remember quantifiers. Quantifier is also a pre-modifier, but quantifiers talk about quantity. Okay, so we use quantifiers when we want to give someone information about the number of something. So it's not numbers, but it's a quantifier. So it's how much, how many, but it's not a specific number. So a number is also a pre-modifier, but you just call that number. If you're talking about quantity, it's called a quantifier. Okay, so we can use these quantifiers for both countable and uncountable nouns, right? All, some, more, a lot of, enough, no. No means zero, kosong. Any, most, lots of, less. So these can be used for both countable and uncountable nouns. Let's show you some examples. We have lots of time. So time is an uncountable noun. Anas has lots of friends. Plural noun, which is countable. I can't go out. I've got no money. So remember, no means zero. Can't go out. I've got zero money. So no money. There was a lot of food, but no drinks. So there was a lot of food, but tak ada, no. In this context means tak ada. So that's a plural noun. Money is uncountable. Okay? So you can take note. There are more quantifiers that can be used for both countable and uncountable, but I can't write them all here, but these are the common ones. Okay. Some quantifiers can be used only with countable nouns. So remember, these nouns are only for countable nouns. There are more, but I'll show you the common ones, right? I can't list down every single one, but I just want to show you that these are the ones that you can use with only with countable nouns, meaning that you can't use them with uncountable nouns. So how many apples would you like? Okay, only with countable nouns. Each child is special. I have a pair of shoes. I have several assignments due this week. Okay, so a way to remember is that these quantifiers, they are referring to a specific quantity, a specific number. So that's why it's only for countable nouns, right? I hope that's clear. Like how many apples? So you can count it. You can count the apples. Each is like one. It's usually one. So this quantifier, you can count it. I have a pair. A pair means two. So that's why it can only go with countable nouns. I have several assignments. Several usually means more than two, three and above. So that's why it's only with countable nouns. Okay. Right. Now the following quantifiers can be used only with uncountable nouns. Not much, or much, a bit of, a little, because there's no specific number next to it. So I don't have much furniture in this room. Could I have a bit of butter, please? So these other quantifiers are used particularly with abstract nouns such as time, money, and trouble. A great deal of, a good deal of. So if you want to remember, when you're talking about much, there's no specific quantity. So that's why it's only for uncountable nouns. Or a bit of. There's no specific quantity. It's like sikit. A little one is also sikit. So a great deal of, you could say, it will probably cost a great deal of money, which is the same as it probably costs a lot of money. Or she spent a good deal of time watching television. So well done. We have come to the end of the lesson. So now you know how determinants and quantifiers are used with countable and uncountable nouns, right? So all this explaining about noun phrases, how it works, I hope you can see how it all fits in. So there's a sentence, there's the clause, within the clause, there's the noun phrase, there's the verb phrase. So we took the noun phrase, and then the noun phrase can be just a noun, or it can be it can be a post modifier or pre modifier with a noun, all right? And then the noun, there's a countable and uncountable. And then we looked further into pre modifier, which is determiner and quantifier, and which determiner and quantifier goes with countable nouns and which one goes with uncountable nouns. So there's a lot of components of the English sentence structure. So we've gone through that one so that you can understand how it works and how it all fits in together. Right, so it's going to take some time for you to be absolutely sure of the correct pre-modifiers to use for every noun. But that's normal, right? Especially if you're A1 or A2, B1 and above, because this is your second language. It's normal that for you to be unsure. But the more that you listen, the more that you read in English, the more that you'll be able to instinctively know which is the correct one, okay? But in the meantime, this is what you can do in your own time, right? Try to choose one page of a book, an English book, or maybe an online article, and then just look at one page, highlight the noun phrases, right? And then for those noun phrases, underline the determiners or the quantifiers or the numbers or adjectives for each noun. And then you'll see how the rules that we learned in this class will apply for each noun phrase. So as you continue to improve your English, it will become easier for you to know which pre-modifiers to use with nouns.